This meeting to order, regular meeting to Enfield Town Council of Monday, April 2nd, 2018. Item number one, prayer by Councilor Arnone. Please rise.
God, thank you for spring and weakening winter's icy grip. A sleeping world emerges to new possibilities. Creation bursts into life, the hope of warmer, longer, brighter days. We welcome you, season of spring. Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item three, roll call, please.
Councilor Arnone?
Here.
Councilor Bosco? Here. Councilor Sakala? Here. Councilor Crissati?
Present. Here.
Councilor Davis?
Here.
Councilor Denny?
Here.
Councilor Falk? Mayor Ludwig?
Here.
Councilor Muller?
Here.
Councilor Suzak? And Councilor Ungary. 8 in attendance and 3 absent.
If in case, item number four, fire evacuation. In case of fire, we have doors directly in back of the town chamber. Please exit to the right, to the left orderly, or exit the doors to your right, our left. Take the first doors to the left, go down the stairs, go around the stairs, and go straight out the door. Item number five, the approval of minutes, regular meeting, March 19, 2018. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Councilor Arnone, seconded by Councilor Muller. Any additions, deletions, any changes to the minutes? Hearing none, by a show of hands, all those in favor? Those opposed, any abstentions? 8 in favor, 0 against. Item 6, special guests. I don't believe we have any tonight. We move to item 7, public communication petitions. Would anyone like to speak for the council? Sir.
Richard Waska, 37 Newlands Road, Enfield. I'm here to speak to a subject we've discussed on numerous occasions before. Barnard School, musty mold and odors persisting for Classroom 7 and others. This issue has been addressed by the council for more than 2 months. The Journal and Inquirer published an extensive report on March 31st in follow-up to information recorded at numerous town council meetings of an ongoing concern by parents and several council members, for which a limited response raised concerns for the investigating news reporters. The report by the JI was very significant, and that the subsequent comments on social media were explosive over an otherwise peaceful Easter weekend. As reported, Superintendent Chris Drezik stated he's been assured by the North Central District Health Department that the building is safe to use, but also said that the Joint Facilities Committee is applying for a grant to replace the roof. Numbers of parents insist that their 4-, 5-, and 6-year-old children return from school days, day after day, with headaches, bloody noses, very sore throats, and eye swelling. Symptoms of exposure to mold, as associated by both the EPA and the Center for Disease Control. Visual mold inspection on March 6th by Best Tech Environmental Services, finally in response to a January complaint to the North Central District Health Department, found staining caused by repeated roof leaks above the drop ceiling tiles in Classroom 7 and in hallways adjacent to various classrooms, staining on wood framing above windows in multiple areas within Classroom 7 caused by, quote, a combination of rust, mineral deposits, and possible microbial contamination, unquote, generated by possibly active mold, and also noted, quote, a mild damp smell, microbial sporation was not observed, notwithstanding contamination. But as previously quoted, possible. Chris Drezik said he first heard of recent ceiling leaks when contacted by the Barnard principal, Jim Graham, in late February or early March. Please note, the principal notified the superintendent on January 12th. David Kinn, it's either Kido or Kido, custodial leader of Engineering, Buildings and Grounds, told the Health Department on February 2nd that, quote, they have had issues with roof leaking for many years, unquote. Public Works Director Greg Gabinell said, quote, Barnard is leaking like a sieve, unquote. Best Tech recommended removal of stained materials, clean and sealed with antimicrobial and fungical solutions, and told Public Works that the roof must be repaired in local areas quickly prior to necessary replacement to mitigate existing issues, suggesting that microbials are more likely probable as opposed to possible. The superintendent said the Board of Education had not been notified by parents of concerns. However, this is the responsibility of this town council, which has known of this for more than 2 months. I had asked on February 20th to our town manager about comprehensive coordination amongst all responsible town agencies as well as those charged with leading all responsible departments. The town council subsequently responded that a comprehensive coordination process was in place. Based on the statements made by the superintendent, this is not the case. Of what significance is the superintendent's statements to the JI that concerned parents had not contacted him nor spoke to the Board of Education at public meetings? The council advised that the superintendent stated that the illness rate of these students was no different from any other classroom at Barnard. If that's the case, the obvious conclusion is the entire school is full of seriously ill children. Councilwoman Liz Davis reiterated on 3/19, quote, "This is unacceptable, this is really wrong," unquote. She is not a lone wolf in the wilderness, as Councilman Cruzati, Councilman Denny, the deputy mayor, and others have stated, quote, "Everyone knows there is a mold problem," unquote. Councilwoman Liz Davis has been and continues to be a most serious advocate for our children, notwithstanding a much too long passage of time. Her legitimate persistence is laudable and must be so recognized by this council and our very worried parents. The Classroom 7 teacher has developed very serious health problems due to daily long hours exposure to contaminants in the classroom beyond those of our children. Furthermore, the continuous running of the AC, the HEPA filter for which there are no available replacement
30 seconds, sir,
filters,
sorry.
has not mitigated the impact on the teacher or children and resulted in her being pulled out of her classroom for 4 weeks by her doctor, who documented serious concerns for the teacher's health by continuing to be exposed to contaminants in this classroom. 2 sentences, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Got
Thank
20
you, sir.
seconds. Doing good.
The doctor had to extend her absence from a shorter number of weeks as her health recovery was not as the doctor had initially expected due to the degree of impact on the teacher. The council should recognize that no teacher could fight for their students more effectively than this teacher while struggling with escalating health concerns. Thank you, folks. I do have more to add to this, and upon further comment, I would hope that you'll permit me to do so.
You get 3 minutes next time. Yep, no problem.
Thank you, sir.
You got it. Anyone else like to speak for the council? Jack.
Jack Sheridan, 7 Buchanan Road. I'd like to check and see if there's somebody else out there that wants to say something. You might be getting tired of hearing me. What I'm thinking of all the time is the 95 million for the JFK, and now you're down to 80, what, 3? Something like that? Doesn't matter, because it's going to get rejected anyway. The problem is, you've lost the credibility. The people who are doing this study for this school have lost their credibility. There's not enough transparency. And I wonder oftentimes when the people make a statement and vote against a referendum, what's the first step that happens? You regroup and represent the referendum. Change some words, drop a few dollars here and there. Think about it. When they first put the thing up, it was for 13.5 million. Let's say that there's been increases, we all know, since then. So let's put it at 17 million, but not 83 million. So by my calculations, you'd have to have it rejected 6 more times to get it down to the point where it would be acceptable. Don't get me wrong. I think the kids deserve it to be fixed. Whatever needs to be done, the roofs, just like Barnard, the roof has to be fixed. Those things have to be done. And we don't want the kids, we don't want anybody getting sick. It's just like the PCBs over there. You know, it's amazing that you do the PCBs and find out from those charts, 5,000 grams versus what they actually found was 20. You can get more, 2.5 times more PCBs from a striped bass from Long Island Sound. You guys must know that because it's in their report, right? It just so happens I read it. So I'm just looking forward to the new presentation of the new school thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Anyone else like to speak for the council? For the first time? Bob.
Bob Decatz, 815 Woodgate Circle. There's a town up in Massachusetts called Ludlow. Very nice town, has a nice Polish club, has across the river in Indian Orchard, has a nice bakery, Shimura's Bakery. Or if you want to go down Berkshire Avenue, you can go to O'Brien's little get-together there, have corned beef and cabbage, Mr. O'Denny. But anyways, they decided they needed a new elementary school and they needed a senior center. So what they did, they got all the prices. They had a public meeting, which they didn't really require to do, to get the opinion of the public, the taxpayers, which this town doesn't do. And their number was 70 million. They got the senior vote because they got the senior center, and they got the parents' vote. And they went out for a referendum. It passed the public meeting, about 55%, and the official referendum vote, 55%. That was a very brilliant strategy that Ludlow did. But we don't have that type of strategy in Enfield. We go full boat, full price. We just keep going. Long Meadow. Long Meadow's got a major problem with their maintenance of their schools. Their schools are typically 10 years old. They're better maintained. They have two middle schools, leaking roofs, boilers. They have 3 elementary schools. They're feeling, after a lot of research, they're going to get rid of their middle schools. That's the talk. They're going to go K through 8. Statistically, it's a better model, K through 8. They might go in that direction. The selectmen already approved fixing the middle schools, but they may abandon the middle schools. So, different strategy. We have to stick with the old ways of doing things. We don't look at future solutions, different solutions. In 1940, Enfield had the same problem with the center school, the north school, and the south school. They were falling apart. Boilers were gone. How they addressed the problem, they closed the 3 schools. They put additions on to Higgins and Brainerd and some of the other schools, because those are newer schools. They tore down the south school. The north school still exists. They must have rehabbed it. And they made the center school into the town hall and the court. So that was a different solution. But we're pursuing an old strategy of fixing things in Enfield, and it just doesn't work. So we have to have look in a different box on how we're doing things. The middle school solution is an addition. They talk about programming, which is a new word for curriculum. The programming is a lot of electives that they don't need. We have to go back to basic education, because we're not improving where the towns around us are improving at a tremendous rate. We're stagnant in education in Enfield because we're too focused on electives and sports, things like that. We have to go back to basic academics, and we're not there. So that's where we have to go if we're going to rehab and save Enfield, because Enfield's failing. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else like to speak for the council for the first time? For the second time? Sir? 3 minutes. Be 3 minutes this time.
Thank you.
Yep.
Richard Waska, Hillens Road. Having left off with regards the fact that this teacher's been struggling and under doctor's directions has had to be out of her classroom for a period more extensive than originally thought by the doctor. Subsequent to her doctors clearing the teacher for return, which was in a period of 3 snow days, yet a second doctor, not the same doctor, notified central office that the teacher must be pulled from school again due to additional and more severe health impacts following her short return, and she must now carry EpiPens everywhere she goes. The doctors determined that her deteriorating health now affects the onset of a health calamity. The teacher's state of health is life-threatening. The doctor specified in no uncertain terms that she must have an EpiPen with her at all times in her purse, in her car, in her schoolroom.
Straight ahead, sir, please.
The teacher has thoroughly followed all her principal's directions to refer all parents' inquiries regarding their repeatedly sick children to his office. These parents have consequently advised the teacher that the principal's responses are circumspect, inconsistent parent to parent, and at odds with the reality and concerns expressed by this council. Worst of all, the principal shared the teacher's private health information without notifying the teacher nor having her consent. Finally, library availability as an alternate to the contaminated classroom proposed by the principal, Jim Graham, was determined by the teacher in collaboration with a librarian to be at most 20 minutes a day and only 3 days a week, which amounts to 1 disjointed hour in a 30-hour week for the children. Otherwise, they're in classroom 7. The teacher has not talked to the parents, the health department, the news media, nor filed a complaint with any agency throughout this incredible ordeal, notwithstanding accusatory words to the contrary. The teacher's a professional of the highest order. Mold, other contaminants yet to be determined, and possibly probable microbials based on best text visual assessment appear to have led to a systemic impact on this teacher of a life-threatening nature as determined in documentation by 2 individual doctors having no relationship one to the other, and evaluations by 3 other medical specialists, all at the teacher's expense. The teacher, while very ill, has provided detailed documentation to the superintendent, principal, central office,
Sir,
and
30
followed up
seconds.
as necessary.
30 seconds. Just didn't want to cut you off. 30 seconds.
May I finish, sir?
Yep, go right ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
She has also provided lesson plans for substitutes to assure her children maintain the incredible progress she has afforded them without interruption. The posture of the town council is primary to addressing this incredibly serious problem. We need all of you people. Children are sick day after day. Whatever recovery they experience over a weekend is immediately compromised upon their return to school the following week. In light of all the serious facts, it's more than apparent that the children's classrooms should at the very least be moved now, if not yesterday. As Councilman Bosco has emphasized, and correctly so, we deal with facts. We've got a lot of facts now, and they are serious. I'd like to close, if you would extend the consideration, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. As responsible adults addressing the health and safety of young children as well as other affected faculty members who are clearly reluctant, if not possibly concerned for whatever reason, to speak before this council, we need to act on the facts on this matter expeditiously. The teacher, now at risk solely from continuing exposure to this environment and nowhere else as medically determined, has taught for 26 years, 23 years in the Enfield School. She's highly accomplished, highly regarded by her peers, and fought for by parents who want their kindergartners to be assigned to her classroom. And finally, why have I come to so many meetings? Our children are everything. They are the reason we live. They make us happy and proud with every achievement. We count the passage of time by the progress as they grow into adulthood. The teacher solely seeks to grow in her profession in a safe environment at Barnard for herself and her little children. And like every one of us who sees their children as their world, I want you to know, this teacher's my little girl.
Thank you, sir. Gene.
Gina Sullivan, 11 Spear Avenue. I wasn't planning to speak tonight, but Mayor, I would appreciate it if maybe you took a moment at some point when you have a free moment. I'm sure you don't have much of it these days. I referenced the town council policy on where speakers can look when they are sitting
And I
here.
wasn't paying attention, and I said, please turn away. I was looking down at the clock, and he looked over, and I said, please turn, I actually did say, please turn back. I've done it to Jack as well. So I do it to everyone.
They can look. We can look at
But we're trying- I
Mr.
know.
Robson. It's your policy.
Would
It's the
prefer-
town council,
I have
but it's in
discretion.
your
I have
policy.
discretion, and I'd prefer you,
Do you have
sorry,
discretion on?
sorry, go ahead. I shouldn't be interrupting. I
No, you
apologize.
shouldn't. I didn't realize there wasn't anything written in the policy that you have discretion. You might want to add that, because do you have discretion over every policy listed? It's not clear, but once again, nothing is here in Enfield. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak for the council? Bob?
Bob T. Katz, 815 Woodgate Circle. I listened to the town manager's report on the lighting at Enfield High. That report was written before March 1st. The March 1st is the complaint of the additional lighting that's there that hasn't been corrected. You got 77 pole lights at Enfield High and around the area, even down at the fields. You could shut off all the lights of the surrounding streets, even the water pollution plant, and still light up the whole neighborhood. And I also talked with a young lady today, 50, young lady. Her father's having trouble sleeping from the incandescent street light that's out in front of his house. So there is some evidence that the LED lights are a serious health issue. And would like to know on how many other people are being affected by the new type of lighting that's really hasn't been proven to be free of health issues. Incandescent, Edison was right. He designed the incandescent light. He sold his first power plant to Enfield, direct current. Windsor-Locks bought alternating current. But he designed all the regulations, which we haven't brought up to date since Edison wrote the regulations. So we're using old regulations in brand-new high school that we're going to have to change and update some of our policies and regulations in Enfield. We're way behind the times, guys and ladies. Let's get with the program and start working on policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else like to speak for the council? For the second time? Only 2 times. We have to wait till after the end, sir.
That'd be fine.
Yeah,
Thank you,
okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Public communication, declare public communication closed. Move on to council communications. Item 8, council, anyone have, any councilors have anything to update? Councilor Davis.
Okay, first, Jack, thanks for all your research and coming up and always letting us know what you find and your thoughts. Really appreciate that. And Bob, well, I got half a page of notes from everything you said. Thanks for, bringing up how Ludlow does it and looking at other communities, how they do it. Richard, I don't really know what to say. My heart breaks for you. I'm not going to retrack what I've said in the past because I still stand firm by it. Something's not right. We requested, about a month ago, an air quality and a Pacific mold test of an air particles or any mold particles. We got a visual test. So, but as I said, my heart breaks. It's not right, and no parent wants to see their child suffer in front of their face. I mean, it's heartbreaking. Gina, thanks for letting us know what the policy is. Thanks for your research and always giving, your input. So to everybody that came up and spoke, thank you. It's really appreciative that you guys take the time to come and speak. And that's how we learn more and we're educated, because I definitely will never say I know everything. The point is, we got to listen to everybody. I think that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Counselor Muller?
I make a motion to suspend the rules and move items B1, E, F, G, and H to miscellaneous and proceed to vote.
Motion by Counselor Muller to suspend the rules. Do I have a second? So by Counselor Bosco, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Those opposed? 8 in favor, 0 against. Anyone else? I just have a couple items. I had the opportunity to read to a second grade class at Enfield Street School, and I heard a few folks talk tonight about there's not a lot of good things going on, but I can tell you those kids, every time I'm in front of somewhere, whether it be in sports at the high school, watching the kids compete, unfortunately we lost in the semis in 4 different tournaments this year in field hockey, basketball, and hockey. But our kids are articulate. They're well-spoken. They're well-behaved. They try like heck. I can tell you these kids in the second grade did their questions were fantastic for a second grade class. They had a sense of humor. And oh, by the way, they sent me letters of appreciation. So we got to be doing something right. And the more times I interact with the youth of our town, the more I gain respect for what they're learning in our system, what they're learning from the community leaders in this town, both from public safety, from school, from town, from their coaches who volunteer all their time in whatever sport they may do, from dance, I know a lot of the girls are in dance. So I think there's a lot of folks spending a lot of their time doing a really good job for our kids in this town. And I also, to the question of the gentleman, we do have, I want to read into record that we were given today. So again, we've been working on this as a town, so I don't want folks to think we haven't. It's from the North Central Health District, from Patrice, and I'm going to ruin her name, Salik, to Brian Chadkowski, April 2nd. Dear Mr. Chadkowski, I'm responding to a request for an opinion regarding follow-up the alleged mold complaint at the above captioned school, which is Henry Barnard, as an anonymous complaint was received regarding the classroom 107 on January 25th, 2018, and investigated on February 2nd, 2018. During the investigation, stained ceiling tiles in the classroom and hallway were observed, as well as some drip marks on the wall. There was no active leaks in the classroom during the investigation. There was no moisture found on the wall, floor, ceilings, or in any classroom observed at that time. No obvious mold growth was observed. Due to the leaking roof, maintenance staff was told to continue quick change out of ceiling tiles that became wet and remove any wet absorbent material. School staff stated the wet ceiling tiles are replaced and that Kilts is sprayed on stained tiles that are not wet as a precaution. In addition, I received a report from Best Tech, a contractor hired by the town to perform a visual mold inspection of the school. Based on the report, Best Tech took additional steps to remove potential areas of microbial, if I apologize for that name, activity in the areas examined. I understand this work has been completed. At this time, I do not have any information that would suggest there is a current health hazard in the school or within any specific classroom in the school caused by mold. I have attached a fact sheet from the Department of Public Health regarding the mold. To summarize, it states that every home, office, school in the country has mold and that sample testing for mold is expensive and usually not necessary. That if mold problem is found, the best solution is to fix the moisture problem and clean up the mold using safe procedures. I do recommend the following: replace the roof as soon as possible to avoid reacting to individual leaks. Consider reintroducing the Connecticut Department of Health Tools for School Indoor Air Quality Program. Please let me know if I can support the town in other efforts. Sincerely, Patrice Salik, if I could put that in the public record. You got the copy? Give it to. And in closing, I just want to wish everyone a belated Happy Easter.
To Bob, you should have been at the presentation from the Board of Ed. You'll see how far the schools have gone, and I will hand the thing to you, and we really are going leaps and bounds, and our enrollment is going up. Kids are coming back. And you could say no all day long, but these are the facts with student population and kids that are actually in the school. Not statistics or made up stuff. This is kids in our school, and I'll give you the facts. Thank you.
Any other comments? Hearing none, I declare council communications closed. Move on to item 9. Town manager report and communications.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Included in your packet is the project and activities report, which I'm more than happy to answer any questions or concerns on. Of large note is the fact that staff remains largely and solely dedicated to the budget process. The initial CIP was finished today and sent out to staff for evaluation and review. And follow-up, last council meeting when we were together, Councilor Davis had asked for some additional information with respect to the work that was done at Barnard School back on March 3rd. I did send out some communication to verify and validate the nature of that work, so I did want to make sure that people were aware that we did follow up on that request. Beyond that, sir, more than happy to answer any questions or concerns that members of council may have.
Any questions from anyone? I just want to state, just so for the public knows, that there will be a meeting on April 10th, I apologize, of this council. It will be a special meeting where we'll discuss next steps for the town manager. I believe, I don't know if it's been posted yet, but it will be posted shortly, and it'll be here in Enfield again. It'll be to talk about the next steps and what our options are. That's it. Item 9. Town Attorney Report and Communications.
No formal report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone have any questions for the Town Attorney? Yeah, so I'm just sorry. Whatever we can do, I want us to be out in front. If there's nothing, that's fine. I want us to have standing wherever we can get to see where we can help position ourselves to stop the tolls that may or may not be going up to the northern, border of 91. So if we can do anything that we can, that we're just not going to sit back and whatever the legislature decides they're going to do. I want us to position ourselves where we at least can negotiate from some sort of position where if they're, again, the gas tax doesn't get reduced, and yet they're going to put tolls up in the northern border. We need to be whatever we can do, and if it's nothing, it's nothing. But the fact that we're just not going to sit back and let them put tolls up there without having some say in it.
We'll immediately start a review to see what, if any, options the town might have.
Thank you. Item 11, report of special committees of the council. Councilor Muller.
The Joint Facilities Committee met. We received 7 responses to the RFQ. The committee narrowed it down to 3 firms, DRA, which is Drummy, Roseanne, and Anderson, JCJ, and Tecton. The committee interviewed and chose JCJ.
Any questions? Councilor Arnone.
Right, so that's also upon opening the bids and then selecting, looking at price too, making sure that they're not grossly overpriced. Right.
And that's a direct question from someone who spoke, right, about not selecting the same firm that we did prior.
It's not the same firm.
So the same firm's not even in the final 3, correct?
No,
Right.
it wasn't in the final 7.
Yep. Moving on to 12, old business. Page 1, appointments, A, 1 through 4. I don't believe we have any. Page 2, items 5 through 18. I don't believe we have any. Page 3, items 19 through 21. Again, I don't believe we have any. Section B under old business, appointments by the town manager, 1 through 11. Do we have any?
No, sir, no appointments at this time.
Move over to page 4. Item 12, again, we don't have a replacement, town manager.
No, sir, we do not.
Item C stays on the table. Do we have a motion for item D to remove from the table and take action? Councilor Sakala, seconded by Councilor Crissati. For all, any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of moving off the table for discussion, raise your hands. Those opposed, any abstentions? 8 in favor and 0 against. So item D is resolution, Macy's Retail Holding versus the Town of Enfield. I will read the motion into record. Resolution to settle pending property tax appeal. Resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby authorize the town attorney Christopher W. Bronson or his designee to settle the outstanding tax assessment appeal in the following action. Macy's Retail Holdings, Inc. versus Town of Enfield, docket number HHB-CV-17-60384777S. The fair market value of the property known as 90 Elm Street to be $4.75 million. Prepared by the Office of the Town Attorney. The date prepared on April 2nd, 2018.
So moved.
By Councilor Arnone, seconded by Councilor Denny. Any discussion on the resolution? Hearing none, roll call, please.
4.
4.
4.
4.
4.
4.
4.
Item E stays on the table. Item 13, new business, we have no consent. B1, 2, 3, I think remains on the table. I don't think we have anyone who has an application. Item C, appointment of town manager.
May I?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we do.
That's the next section, sorry.
Oh,
That's item.
okay.
We're on new business, sorry.
All right, fair enough.
Yep. We move that to miscellaneous,
Gotcha.
right?
Thank you, yes.
Yes, that was part of the motion. Sorry about that. Item C, appointment of town manager.
No, sir.
No points for P and Z for the council, I don't believe so. Item 14, items for discussion, again, no consent. So items B1, E, F, G, and H been moved miscellaneous. We have none, no points from the town manager on C.
No, sir, we do not.
Nothing on D. So now we're at miscellaneous. Do I have a motion to, for item B1, vacancy exists, North Central District Health, due to the resignation of Valerie Romano. Do we have a nominee?
Sure, I'd like to nominate Shannon Grant.
We have a nominee, Shannon Grant. Do I have a second? Seconded by Counselor Denny. Is there a motion to close nominations? By Counselor Sakala, seconded by Counselor Crisati. All those in favor of closing nominations, raise your hands. Those against, 8 favor, 0 against. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
4.
Shannon Grant.
4.
4.
4.
4.
4.
Item E, discussion resolution setting a public hearing regarding amendments to the Town Code, Section 14-212, display of street numbers. Whereas proposed amendments to the Enfield Town Code, Chapter 14, Article 2, Section 14-212, display of street numbers must comply with the state building code, and whereas the town council wishes to seek input on the proposed amendments, now therefore be it resolved, the Enfield Town Council will hold a public hearing in the Enfield Town Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, on Monday, April 16th, 2018, at 6:45, to allow residents an opportunity to express their opinion regarding the proposed revisions to the Enfield Town Code, Chapter 14, Article 2, Section 14-212, amended hereto as Attachment A, prepared March 26, 2018, by the Town Manager's Office.
So moved.
Moved by Counselor Nolan, second by Counselor Crisati. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yeah. Go ahead, Counselor Denny, sorry.
Just for the public's information, I hope you all come out, but a very important thing is to have a number displayed on your house. There are enormous amount of people in Enfield that do not have numbers. And there's going to come a time when the fire department or the police department or EMS will be going by your house at night looking for a number of a house when you call 911 or whatever, and they're not going to find your house. So it would behoove everybody, and that's why we're doing this again, because we've did it in the past, to put a number that's readable on your house. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Denny. Counselor Nolan.
Yeah, I have to agree with Ed. That's kind of a pet peeve of mine, not having a number on your house. Seems trivial, but it really isn't when it comes to public safety. Even Public Works, when they're coming to try to fix a pothole or something in your neighborhood and they reference a house, it's one of the most important safety issues there is. And people just don't follow the rules. And I hope these new rules make sense to people and they get up there and put that number on there and, you know, right underneath your light. It's a good practice. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Will there be a copy of this for folks? You know, maybe just have it for before the 16th, just so they can see what the actual amendment is.
Yes, sir. There should be, if it's not posted already, there should be, but if not, we'll make sure.
No further discussion. Roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone?
4.
Counselor Bosco? 4. Counselor Sakala? 4. Counselor Crisati?
4.
Counselor Davis?
4.
Counselor Denny?
4.
Mayor Ludwig?
4.
Counselor Muller?
4.
8 in favor and none against.
Item F, discussion resolution authorizing the town manager to sign grant applications to be submitted to the Connecticut Office of Early Childhood School Readiness. Whereas the Connecticut Office of Early Childhood School Readiness provides a grant to Enfield Social Services, and whereas the Department of Social Services is in the process of submitting a reapplication to the Connecticut Office of Early Childhood School Readiness for funds that will be available to the town in fiscal year 2018-2019, resolved that the town manager, Brian R.H. Tadkowski, is authorized to sign the submit the grant sign and submit the grant application in the name and on behalf of the town of Enfield with the Connecticut Office of Early Childhood School Readiness, and to affix the corporate seal, submitted March 23rd, 2018 by Don Bouthier, Director of Social Services. By Counselor Muller, seconded by Counselor Arnone. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone,
4.
Counselor Bosco. 4. Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crissati.
4.
Counselor Davis.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
8 in favor, none against.
Thank you. Item G, discussion resolution referring the proposed conveyance of 100 High Street to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So, sorry, before I read this, didn't we say it was 96?
Yes, I see that's.
So once I read it, we need an amendment, correct or no?
So I believe that it addresses that it's more commonly known as or also known as.
Okay, so
the correct.
So we're good?
Correct, yes, sir.
100 or is it 96?
It's 96.
Okay.
Also known as.
Okay, just want to, all right. So, sorry, I'll read the resolution, but I just want to make sure. Thank you. I saw that too, that's the first thing I said. Resolution referring to the proposed conveyance of 100 High Street to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Whereas the town of Enfield owns the property located at 100 High Street, also known as, oh, here we go, I'm sorry, I should have read it through. Also known as 96 High Street, Lot 131, Assessors Map 25, and whereas the town intends to lease the building with the option to purpose to the Opera House Players, Inc., and whereas the council must refer this proposed conveyance to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a report in conformance with the requirements of Connecticut General Statute 8-24. Now there be it resolved, the proposed conveyance of 100 High Street is referred to the Planning and Zoning Commission in conformance with the requirements of the Connecticut General Statute 8-24, prepared by the Department of Development Services on March 23rd, 2018.
So moved.
By Counselor Arnone. Seconded by Counselor Crissati. Any discussion on the motion? Counselor Arnone.
Yeah, just both of these too. If Brian, you want to give a little overview of what we're doing here? I know it's kind of descriptive there, but we're out moving forward and getting the Broadbrook players to move to Enfield.
Yes, sir. So in short, there are certain statutory requirements. One is that if the town wishes to transfer or acquire property in one way, shape, or form, it is required to send that intended action over to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their review and comment and recommendation back with respect to either support or opposition to the desire of council. The other item, the next piece of legislation which is about to come up, is with respect to the value of the transaction. There is a provision within Connecticut General Statute, I'm sure that Mr. Bromson here can cite chapter and verse for you, that says if the particular transaction is to exceed a value, I believe the value is $20,000, that council is obligated to hold a hearing with respect to the transaction before the transaction can be completed. So none of the legislation tonight is binding or committing to the council, but are simply the required check boxes, if you will, in the process to continue moving this project forward.
Thank you, Brian. This is a great opportunity for the town. We're very excited about this, and it's a move forward for Thompsonville and Enfield as a whole. Thank you.
So on Tom's question, sorry, anyone else, any question? So we first to the planning zone, will they take this up at their next meeting? Do they have an idea when this will be on their agenda?
I want to say that it is going to be at their next meeting, which I think is towards the end of this week. But I can tell you that it will be resolved and we'll have a recommendation back in time for the next council meeting, which is the 16th.
Okay. Can we strongly suggest that they move on? Any other questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone.
4.
Counselor Bosco. 4. Counselor Sakala.
4.
Counselor Crissati.
4.
Counselor Davis.
4.
Counselor Denny.
4.
Mayor Ludwig.
4.
Counselor Muller.
4.
8 in favor, none against.
Item H, discussion resolution setting a public hearing for the proposed conveyance of 100 High Street. Whereas the town of Enfield owns a property located at 100 High Street, and also known as 96 High Street, Lot 131, on Assessors Map 25, and whereas the town intends to lease with the option to purchase the above described property to the Opera House Players, Inc., and whereas the councils refer this matter to the Planning and Zoning Commission, known as the Commission, for a report in conformance with the requirements of Connecticut General Statute 8-24, and whereas the Commission will make a recommendation pursuant to the above referenced statute at its April 5th, 2018 meeting. I guess I got to keep reading these things first hand. Whereas under certain conditions, Connecticut General Statute 7-163E requires the legislative body of the municipality to conduct a public hearing prior to the sale, lease, or transfer of real property owned by the municipality. Now therefore be it resolved that the Enfield Town Council does hereby schedule a public hearing regarding the conveyance at 100 High Street to be held on April 16, 2018, to begin at 6:50 p.m. in the council chambers of the Enfield Town Hall, which is located at 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, 06082, in order to receive public comment prepared by the Department of Social Development Services on March 23, 2018.
So moved.
By Councilor Arnone, seconded by Councilor Denny. Any discussion on the motion? So again, not trying to be technical, we put it in the resolution, they have to act on it on Thursday. So that means they should, I mean, I know they're not binding to our resolution, but, and we're setting the public hearing for the 16th. Just want to make sure that occurs.
Are you referring to the 824, or are you referring to the
The second
legislation
one,
that's
the public
currently on the
hearing.
table? Correct. So there's no obligation for
Okay.
you to act
Okay.
on approving or disapproving the transaction on the 16th, only
it.
that you are holding the public hearing on the 16th.
Got it, okay, thank you. Any other further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Counselor Arnone?
4.
Counselor Bosco? 4. Counselor Sakala?
4.
Counselor Crissati?
4.
Counselor Davis?
4.
Counselor Denny?
4.
Mayor Ludwig?
4.
Counselor Mulder?
4.
8 in favor, 8 against? 8 in favor, none against.
8 and 8. It happens, see, it happens. Item 16, public communications. Anyone would like to speak before the council? Sir?
Richard Waska, Dealings Road, Enfield. In follow-up to the last words that were offered by you, Mayor, with regards findings, I'd first like to state that as a citizen of Enfield, when I first learned of inquiries being made by individuals, organizations outside of Enfield, I immediately contacted our town manager. I felt it incumbent upon me because I'm a resident of the town and a taxpayer. I care about my town. And I did so, and the town manager did thank me for so doing. Secondly, Bestech is recognized as a highly credentialed company. The work they have done, of course, is in keeping with what they were directed to do and what they were paid for, and I wish to reemphasize the visual aspect of their inspection. You cannot see microbials. HEPA filters and air conditioning filters in the room were not inspected nor evaluated to see what they had gathered. The HEPA filter, as I stated previously, has never been replaced. In keeping with the content of my character, I want to share with you that I've attended 5 different engineering schools. I hold 3 different degrees, 2 at the master's level. I love Enfield. I want our town to be the best for all of us. I know all of you, the people I've talked to, both sides of this fine council, we all have that same love. That's why you're here. That's why we do what we do. And this is over and above any other concern. Set my daughter aside in the equation. These children are still in that classroom 5 days a week. There must be a room down the hall, a really large clothing closet. If the room is otherwise satisfactory to this council based on Bestech's evaluation, I would suggest that we could put any other classroom in room 7, pick up these kids and the teacher, put them in any other classroom in the building, and satisfy the worries of the parents. If that can be considered. I don't know. You guys are the experts at this, but I do want to say this. I want to thank all the council members for their sincerity, for their response. I've talked with Joe Bosco. I've talked with Bob Crissati. Mr. Denny approached me on more than one occasion following meetings here at the council, and I've had occasion to talk with Liz Davis, and I respect you all, but I really need you to convince yourselves of what needs to be done in light of the facts that have been brought forth. And you know as well as I, we're all adults and there are affiliations to different allegiances. The fundamental, though, remains unchanged. The only major difference, most of the time, is the process used to skin the cat, not the fact that the cat needs to be skinned. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Jack.
Jack Sheridan, 7 Buchanan Road. I just felt, when we were talking about the numbers on the houses, I don't know if you guys remember it or even know about it now, but the fire departments were giving out a gizmo that goes in your porch light bulb so it flashes. So if you have an occasion to call for an emergency ambulance or anything like that, you turn the light on and it flashes and it calls the attention. And I know from experience that it works. So I felt like I should tell you that too. I don't know if they still do that or not, but the other thing was, comes up though when you're talking conveyance on the senior center, the old senior center. Is there a tax on the conveyance tax on that? And is it paid on the estimated value? Because I'm just wondering how that works. I mean, and last but not least, just thought I'd throw this in. Flat roofs should go the way of flat earthers. We need to get rid of flat roofs.
Thank you, Jack. Bob.
Bob T. Katz, 815 Woodgate Circle. 2 items. I always hear from elected officials how much debt Enfield has. Actually, Enfield debt is extremely low. You look at other towns with more population or less population, they have high debt. You know, of course, Hartford is extremely high. You can get this information, the Connecticut Economic Resource Center, the 2017 reports, each individual town has it. Probably the only exception to Enfield in low debt is Wallingford. They have 4.7 million annual debt. We have 4.9 annual debt. This is 2015 numbers. That's the latest numbers. Okay, now we're going to get into enrollments, Mr. Bosco. That's my expertise. I have enrollments going back in Enfield for 200 years, Connecticut for 200 years. Peter Prado, who does the projections, is a friend of mine. We confer on a regular basis. UConn confers with me. I've done peer reviews for their documents. This document that you handed me, there's only one thing on page 18 that has a little chart here, which you can hardly read. But if you look at the chart, the decline is a severe decline. And official enrollments are sent to the state as of October 1st. From last year to this present year, there's 80 less students in Enfield. The high school enrollment, the biggest class is the 9th grade, which is over 400. But the average class size, K through 2, is 360 students. That's down considerably from what it was years ago. That means that you're going to have 1,440 students in the high school in the future years. You're going to have 1080. That 1080 is going to be in the middle school when that phony projection that was done by the architect, they had over 1,200 students that year. You're down 80 students from the previous year. Nothing in this report talks about students coming from correct schools or anything. They talk about this is in the budget book. Every counselor should have this, but there's nothing about what Mr. Bosco, Counselor Bosco, said. So that's my expertise, Mr. Bosco. I challenge you to show me in here where this says. It doesn't say it. Thank you.
Thank you. Walter.
Walter Cruzel, 21 Charlie Road. Also here as the chairman of the Board of Education, speaking as for all 9 of us members. I thank you, Mr. Mayor, for reading this into the record. It's very important. And this was to accompany a report that Best Tech put out last week before it was public. And this was only put out today, but we know it went public on Saturday in the paper. But it is what it is. Tomorrow morning, every person in Henry Barnard will get a copy of the report, a copy of this letter, and also a copy from the superintendent. And then I like playing visual aids here, so I got a 5-second recording that I'm going to play, and then I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd rather hear frogs.
Charlotte.
Hi, Charlotte Riley, 55 John Dodd Drive. I'm also vice chairman on the Board of Education. I'm not speaking on behalf of the board, but I'm just going to give my 2 cents on an issue. I'm going to go borrow a page from Mr. T-Katz's book from when he came to the Board of Ed meeting a month or so ago, and I'm going to give you my brief resume of relevant items only, as I think it will help you understand where I'm coming from. I have a BS in biology, a minor in psychology and science from CCSU. When I was in college, I interned in a genetics lab at the Yukon Health Center. I had a brief stint of working in a lab at Quest Diagnostics, analyzing blood and urine samples. I was a certified pharmacy tech for a number of years, and I worked in medical records also. My last job for about 7 years was a senior disability case manager at Liberty Mutual. I've also worked for a government contractor for HUD that would do such thing as property preservation and handling of electrical, sewer, HOA, etc. bills on foreclosed homes. My husband, in fact, owned his own business for about 6 years until recently moving on to bigger and better things. He was an independent contractor for HUD, working on foreclosed homes, doing cleanouts, property condition reports, home inspections, mold remediation, roof repairs, plumbing repairs, etc., etc. The list goes on. I myself have been known to go on a good number of these orders with him just to get out of the day-to-day rut and see something else and help him on a weekend if he needed it. The reason I bring all this up is to illustrate that I'm a pretty analytical person. I rely on lab values, test results, procedure reports, and photos. I have been in my fair share of homes that have been overrun with mold, so much so to the point that it is growing down off of the ceiling, dripping onto the walls. You can practically taste it before you even get in the house. And I would help by documenting, taking photos, and completing the property condition reports. I have looked over countless lab reports, test results, procedure reports, medical records, while making determinations for disability payments. I understand lab values and raw data. I take from factual information and make a determination. So I'm coming here tonight to share my observe and report, if you may. Being that I'm lucky enough to be vice chairman of the Board of Education, and I am on the facilities committee, I wanted to observe for myself the conditions at Henry Barnard. So Walter Cruzel, the chairman of the board, and myself requested through the superintendent that we may go and see what's going on. We got a same-day appointment a couple of weeks ago after school was done for the day so as to not disrupt the normal learning environment. The principal took us around and into the classrooms and hallways and questions. This is my report on my observations. On March 22nd at 4 p.m., I observed there were no air conditioners or dehumidifiers in place, only a HEPA air filter that was reported to have been the property of the teacher. Can I go just a little bit longer? All right. I'm getting to a point. Let's see here. Okay. Can I come back? All right, cool. Come back. Get up and sit down.
I'm sure you know who I am by now. This is in keeping with what I had said previously. Various things have been said with regards to teacher. The air conditioning, the HEPA filter, the fans are all provided by us. It's not her property. Parents were told that she brought the air conditioning and the HEPA filter from her prior assignment out of Nathan Hale. No, she did not. It was provided by the principal to her classroom. The town manager has told us in excess of some $30,000, if not more, has been spent addressing the replacement of ceiling tiles and various other attributes of that classroom. I'll bet it really looks great, but the appearance doesn't tell us of the substance. We're almost dealing, please put this into the category of possibly an overstatement. I want to repeat, an overstatement. Terrible things have been happening in our schools, the most recent being in Parkland, Florida, where children were killed, at the very least frightened, at the very least put in a condition that was horrific, that was threatening. Even if they never saw the gunman or heard the shot, they were aware of the behavior of others. We've got this happening from whatever the devil is in that environment. I don't know what it is, but we can't deny a couple of basic things, and I'll offer just one to make the point and counterpoint to the young lady who was just speaking. Are any of you aware of the incredible hunk of ceiling material that was on the exterior of the school's air conditioning unit, black as could be with spots from mold, in which there were inhabitants, chipmunks with feces, urine, debris, and dander, living in that environment at the graciousness of the taxpayers of Enfield? Where is that written down in the school records? I don't understand why the nurse at the school recognizes 3 to 5 children every day, 5 days a week since December, but has no records of it. This is very troubling. I'll leave it at that for the moment. There will be more to say. Please, folks, keep on coming at it so that we can get it all up on the table. I'm not here making an argument to see if my voice is louder than the next voice. I'm here to determine, as Mr. Bosco has said repeatedly, what the devil are the facts so that when we take action, it's worth our effort. But we can't deny where these children are and where this teacher's at. Thank you.
Okay, Charlotte Riley. Okay, here I go. Okay, so on March 22nd at 4 p.m., I observed there were no air conditioners or dehumidifiers in place, only a HEPA air filter that was reported to have been property of the teacher, as some teachers there just bring their own. I was advised that in the evenings, a large dehumidifier is put in place and removed before the start of school. There were some brown water/rust marks on tiles in the hallways and the classrooms we went in. We have been advised multiple times that the ceiling tiles are changed out quite frequently. There was no moldy, musty, nor heavy cleanser smell in the classrooms in question. I saw no actively leaking water coming out of the ceiling or windows at the time. The normal school smell was observed throughout. So that was my observation. I've seen the report by Bestech on their findings and what has been completed for work, since I'm also lucky enough to sit on the Facilities Committee and see these reports, which should be distributed, which they're going to be. The Facilities Committee is working on an appropriate solution and eventual roof repair and replacement as soon as the funding for such a project becomes available, since the cost to repair the roof is about $1.2 million. Well, replace the roof is $1.2 million, and we can't do that without a referendum. We know there's a problem. I have not personally witnessed anyone trying to cover up any information or say that there isn't a problem with the roof. We are trying to get it all out there and are looking for ways to remediate the situation. The facility meetings are open to the public and minutes are published as well. Personally, I have not received any emails, phone calls, texts, or letters myself about any of the issues related to this matter. I have not seen any public come to Board of Ed meetings and share their concerns over this issue either. I myself probably have the most interest in getting this issue rectified as soon as possible because my son goes to Henry Barnard. He is in a classroom that this issue directly affects, right outside the door to his class. My daughter will be going there in another 2 years. My cousin-in-law's child also attends school there. My Cub Scout pack meets there weekly. I volunteer on the PTO there. So this issue affects me more directly than anyone up here or on the Board of Ed. And if I didn't think it was safe, I wouldn't send my son to school there either. And I would make sure it was known if it wasn't, and I would work appropriately from there. If there's a problem bigger than what the observations and data conclude, I can assure you that my colleagues on the Board of Ed want nothing more than to assist. That's why we ran for office and are so involved in our community. I'm not speaking for the Board of Ed, but by seeing how well we all work together, I can deduct that this is a fair assumption. Day one of this term, I said I wanted to gain the trust and respect of the community, and I intend to keep working at that. If I am wrong about any of this that I just reported, I'll be the first to admit it and see what I can do to help provide solutions. I care about my kids and our kids collectively and want nothing but the best for them. So I would encourage, if there really are serious health issues, and I'm not saying there are or aren't, because I haven't received any receipt of proof, that have been overlooked as a direct result of school conditions, please let us know. Show us concrete proof such as lab tests, reports, photos, medical records, anything substantial and factual, and we would be more than happy to assist and attempt to rectify the problem more than we're already trying to do. If you don't report the issues to us with proof, we don't know that they exist, and then we can't help. Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Eileen MacDonald, 8 Spring Street. This is going to be very quick, but I don't know who has any of... Anyways, forget that. This man right here is begging for his daughter's life. If this was any of you, you would have it fixed like that. I'm just asking that you please do more. Thank you.
Bob T. Katz. Had a meeting with my cardiologist Friday morning. And of course, I have a monitor in me. They're doing a life study. And they downloaded all my information Friday morning. One comment by the electronic technicians, he said, "So what happened Thursday night? You had a lot of heart activity." I explained it to him. There was a few words said. But there was one comment by the doctor says, "You have the thickest blood that we've ever seen on any patient." So they quadrupled my Eliquis. But my local cardiologist says, he wanted me off the Eliquis. So now we got a little conflict between two experts. So then this is exactly what we have here. We got the council and the board. All you guys are great people, and you want to resolve the issues. Joe Bosco, even though I disagree with you, I love you dearly, Joe. You're a great guy. You're an asset to the council. And I think with the Board of Education, you guys, you can make Enfield great again. And that's where we have to go. We have to be positive and move ahead, and everybody has to work together. We have to resolve these issues. We have a declining school population. I'm going to say that again. That can be changed. But the 55 over in another 5 years is going to dominate Enfield. And the Census Bureau has stated that across the nation, because the young kids today are just having one child. The Muslims are having 4, 5, and 6. We have a Muslim cemetery in Enfield. It's the only one in the state. They're building one in Rocky Hill. So we have other nations moving in. Thank you.
Hold on 1 second, I'll be right there.
Walter Cruzel, 21 Charlie Road. I've always been said that I've been a big kid, so I'm going to play a kindergarten to second grader right now. This is what they do all day long. They touch everything. And then they do this. Or they do this. Thank you.
You're absolutely right.
Okay, Bob, I'm glad you came up and said something because I sort of misspoke because I wanted to get that information out to you. And yes, I'll agree with you, we have declining population, but where I take sometimes a little bit offense, and I sometimes take it personal, and I really shouldn't. And no, and it's not you, it's just when people say that we have a failing school system in Enfield, that's where I start taking things a little bit personal. I wish you were down with the superintendent's meeting today, and where I actually misspoke was we have 100 new students that came out of the CREC schools coming back to Enfield because of what we're offering and the type of education we have and the teachers and administrators that are trying their hardest. And if you would have seen the presentation that the superintendent had with stuff all the way starting at kindergarten now, things that we do different than we did in the past, you maybe would have enjoyed it. I mean, it really was a good presentation. So it wasn't that I was calling the enrollment down. It was we are gaining enrollment within ourselves because we're doing a much better job. And like they say, you know, you build it, they will come. And the students are coming back to the Enfield Public Schools. So that's the point I wanted to get out there. And like, again, I misspoke a little bit in the beginning, but that was why I gave you that. It'll show that the enrollment in the schools are coming up, and they're coming up within. You know, that's where we got to make the, draw the line, but it is our own students coming back from CREC, which in turn saves us a lot of money and gives us more money to spend on the kids themselves. So that's it. Second.